Hi, I'm Ronnie Garvin, the Hands of Stone, and a lot of people remember this. And I'm going to make an interview with Great North Wrestling, basically about my life. So I hope it's not too boring and you all enjoy it.
So a lot of people don't know that you're actually from Quebec. Where exactly in Quebec were you born and where did you grow up?
It's been kept a good secret. I was born in Montreal, and I was raised from the age of 2 in Gaspé. Cap de Rosy, exactly. It's a park now. I don't even think there's a town there. It's Parc Fortillon. I think it's a provincial park. And we moved back to Montreal when I was 13 years old.
And were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Not really. Well, when I came to Montreal, I wasn't a fan of anything. Yeah, well, I can say hockey probably because we listened to sport on the radio. And it was a battery radio. We didn't have electricity. And maybe a little boxing too. I remember Joe Louis boxing, and I don't think Raymond Rougeaus was boxing then. But no, anyway, hockey was the big deal. Andre Richard, Maurice Richard, Bellevaux, and all them guys, and then that was about it as far as sports. And when I got to Montreal, my aunt took me to the Forum, and it was real popular in Montreal then. Yvonne Robert and the Rougeaus, Johnny, and Hans Schmidt, and the guy that lost his ear, Yukon Eric and Kowalski. Anyway, yeah, it was. My aunt took me to the matches, but I never thought I was going to get into that.
Did you have a favorite when you were growing up?
No, because unless you went to the matches.
Right.
And I left home not long after that because I didn't get along with my dad. I was a bad kid. If it would have been for wrestling, I would be in, what's that jail they got there? No, I was not a good kid. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to listen to my parents. My dad gave me a choice, work, I'll go to school. I packed up and left at 15. And I got streetwise real quick, and I forgot who it was. I went to the Loisirs Saint-Jean-de-Baptiste, and that's when I started wrestling. Well, first I went there and I boxed. Didn't last long. I got my head rattled, and the guy, I couldn't touch the guy. They put me. I wanted to box the guy. I can't remember the guy's name. He was an older guy. I skipped the rope. He wanted me to skip the rope and run and do all kinds of exercises. I wanted to box. So I think he got mad because he tapped me a little bit and I quit. I said, nah, that's not for me. It was different than street fighting, sucker punch guys and stuff like that. But
so that was like a boys and girls
Pat
club
Curry.
place.
Pat Curry. What was his name? He wrestled as Pat Curry in England. He was a coach. Pat Gerard.
Okay.
You ever heard of him?
No.
Pat Gerard. He wrestled in England. He was a big star. He was teaching wrestling at the Loisirs Saint-Jean-Baptiste. It was run by a priest. It was the church was above, and there was a big gymnasium. They had everything from judo to boxing and amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, weightlifting.
So it wasn't that hidden that they were teaching pro wrestling? Because I know in a lot of territories it was actually hard to get into the wrestling business.
Well, they had wrestling. Yeah, well, it was not that hard there. It was harder when I went to Boston. Some of those guys. It was harder to get accepted from the old timers. There was no kids in the wrestling. When I went to Boston, there was maybe 2 or 3 of us. I was the youngest one. I think first time I was 17, 18 years old.
So what was your training like overall?
Well, Pat Gerard, we worked out. I forgot how many months, weeks. And then they had wrestling where they charged people to come in. And I guess the money went to the church.
Okay.
And, I was going to wrestle in front of people, So that was a big deal. At the end of the year, they gave the guys a trophy. And I remember I was excited. And I remember he said, he wanted me to use a knee drop. Because Kowalski, that thing was, off the top rope,
Yeah.
and I could do it, which I did a lot in my career. I did it on somebody's, one of the Rougeaus' dad. I did it on, because it's a good move. And so we went into the room and he brought me aside. And he was a pretty rough guy, I think, in his younger days. Anyway, I was kind of intimidated. He says, you shake his hand when he turns, you run and you hit him with a knee in the back. And then down he goes, you climb on the top rope and that knee dropped, and he says, if you don't do it right, I'm going to show you how to do it right. I was scared of that. I won my first match. That's what I did. I said, if I didn't do it right, it was either me or... So I don't know if I hurt the other guy. I don't think I did, but...
How long
it
was
looked good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. How long was it before you started traveling as a wrestler after that?
Well, I did some local show. I can't remember, small towns around town. There was a guy that was promoting towns, and you ever heard of Fernand Chartier, Tony
Yes.
Ross?
Yeah.
Those guys I got, Bobule Maisonneuve. They were all going there. I think Pat Patterson went there, and I forgot how many. I think a lot of local guys came out of Montreal went to that.
Is it true that you grew up around Terry Garvin?
No.
Okay.
Terry was from East Montreal.
Okay.
No, I didn't meet Terry till I was, after that, I knew Pat because I went to school. The school was about a quarter of a block from where Pat lived.
Okay.
And I was seeing his sister, Annette. I think she's my age or younger. And Pat was already wrestling, and Terry. Oh, and I went. I went to Palais des Sports, the Sports Palace.
Okay.
Sports Palace. It was not far from where I live. We live in East Montreal too. And Pat was wrestling there. Terry was partners with 2 or 3 of them. They're blonde. They call them the Blondes. I can't remember their name. And they packed that place, and that was opposition to the Forum.
Okay.
Silvio Sampson was the promoter, and there was a big rivalry in the promotion, but Sampson never could equal what was the other guy's promoted? I can't remember his name now. It was promoting the Forum.
Yeah, I know there was the Rougeaus. It didn't.
That's way
Vachons
before.
have their...
Way before that.
Oh, okay, I don't know that.
I think Johnny was wrestling for him.
Okay.
And he died, and I guess Johnny, that's how he got the promotion. I don't know.
Okay. And what would have been your first territory other than the Quebec?
Boston.
Boston. What brought you there?
I can't remember if it was Terry. Chinley was there too. Remember Chinley?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of guys going to Montreal, going to Boston. And what was his other guy?
So you knew Terry from Montreal, and he would have probably just put in a good word for you there.
No, I think he called Tony. Somebody called Tony Santos, and that's how I went to Boston. But then that was not a good place to go. You're starved to death.
Okay.
$55 a week. I tell people a lot of people probably would have quit, but it was either that or go home.
When were your matches with the great Malenko? Because I've heard that you had a few matches with him.
That guy was a prince. He's one of the best. I got a list that's probably 100 of the best. I put them all at number 1, and he's one of them.
A lot of people say that he's one of the greatest heels of all time.
Oh, maybe not. I don't think everybody in their own way. It's how you get there.
Yeah.
Because you get guys that's very successful, But Malenko had this knack. He didn't have to kill 15 guys to get over. A week after he was in the territory, you go to the ring and they wanted to kill him. Because he had this knack, this look, whatever. He closed that eye, do an interview, and he was good. Interviews were very important, and he was very good at it. And you could He get beat every night and fight on the way out of the ring. How many times have you seen that? When you get beat, usually they just laugh at you. They don't want to kill you, but they just hated him, you know. And he had that heat, and I think that was a plus because a lot of in the process. I'll tell you why. I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I've seen it. The Stomper. Now, I'm not taking away anything from the Stomper. He drew a lot of money, but he had to destroy 15, 20 people before people really hated him, you know.
Yeah.
Where Malenko had just as much heat or more without going through all that. So totally different style of wrestling, but Malenko was a very talented guy and just unbelievable. And you don't hear of him anymore.
Is it true that the Garvin stomp came from something that you saw him do?
Who told you that? I told a few people in the last few years, because I've had people say, how'd you come up with that? Well, I looked in wrestling, and most everybody in wrestling has copied somebody, but they modify it. You know, you modify it. You don't do it exactly the same way. I saw Malenko do that in Florida, mainly. Back in this 66, 67, you know, and then I got the idea, you know, to use it, but I use it in a different way. You know, I did the whole thing all the way around, you know, which he didn't. You know, he would do the head and the arm, you know, and the chest. But I modified it different, and I was like 20 years later, you know, so people forget.
When you were in the Florida territory, was it Eddie Graham running it?
Yeah.
What did you think of him as a promoter? Because everyone always talks about his mind.
Eddie Graham, he had a very good mind for the business. As a human being, he was a piece of shit, you know, because I saw him do things that, you know. But as a worker, yeah, very good mind, and he had a good run, you know. And but he didn't have a good ending, you know.
No, there's a lot of rumors floating around why he killed himself. Do you have any idea? I
think at the time they said he had a girlfriend. Well, he'd fly his airplane drunk. I mean, drunk. He even asked me, and I forgot who else, Tarzan Tyler, I think, one night to go back home with him, because it got to where nobody wanted to get in a plane with him, you know. And he had a nice airplane. He was making a lot of money, but I heard he had a problem with a girlfriend. He was separated from his wife or divorced. I'm not sure, but he killed himself on his ex-wife's bed.
Are you surprised that his son also ended up killing himself?
No, it didn't surprise me. His son, last time I saw him was probably 5 or 6 years later. I was in the same car with him doing a trip. He had what was it? I think it was $600,000 check that he just had collected, that his dad had invested land in Florida. He made a lot of money, you know, a lot of money. And there was some kind of land that was with the sheriff's boys ranch in Florida. And somehow he had part of it or all of it, I'm not sure. But it was a Boy Scout thing in the summer.
Okay.
So, and I guess it got sold and his son got it. So with all that money, he still was not happy, you know.
Yeah.
But he was not. He was brought up, he was short, which is nothing wrong with being short, but he was not his dad. You should never, that's what a lot of people say, oh, well, the dad. Well, you can't equal your dad usually, you know. And it's bad to chase after your dad. It's any business, you know, you should go on your own style, your own, you know. And I think I was one of his problems. He was a good guy. I liked him though.
Was Dusty Rhodes kicking around the Florida territory at that time when you were there?
No, he was there, but he was a worker.
Okay, he wasn't on the
Dusty is about 2 or 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
Him and Dick Murdoch. Oh, we had a blast back in them days. They were partners, and they were the wildest two guys you've ever seen in your ring, but they drew money.
Do you have any interesting stories about Dick Murdoch? Because he was such a crazy character.
I can't, right off the top of my head. I traveled with him a lot. He liked to drink, you know. But he was a good worker. You could make money with him.
There's always the controversy on whether he was racist or not.
I don't think so. I don't know. Some people say you call somebody the N-word, you're racist. They call themselves that. You know, how many times we call people names? You know, what if that person was black? If he's white, it's okay. You can call him any damn thing you want.
Yeah.
You know, I don't buy into that. I don't know. He never told me he was in the Ku Klux Klan. You know, I never seen him burn crosses. You know, so
So
racist.
a lot of that could be exaggerated over the years.
Well, yeah, you can make one comment, and all of a sudden you're a racist. You know, well, shit, they call each other that, and that's why it's going to be. People are going to use that word 150 years from now, because they're continuing it. So, you know, I don't care about that. I'm not racist. I don't care. I think people are just. You got to be politically correct. You got to do this and say that. And what the hell, you know?
And you also worked for Angelo Poffo, and I believe you were an investor in that company as well.
I had 20%.
How did you end up becoming a partial owner of that territory?
Well, I was over in Knoxville, and we went our separate ways. The promotion we split. Malenko was involved in the Bob Ort, and. Of course, it's hard to promote, you know. People think it's easy, but there's a lot involved. And by splitting, it was not a big city. Knoxville, Tennessee was not that big. So we split the crowds. So nobody was making money, you know, because before that it was fantastic. But then we split, and then, so the Poffos were running Lexington, which is 200 miles north of Knoxville. And we didn't really know it. I didn't know they were running up there because we didn't have any contact.
Right.
And somehow they contacted Ron Wright, was our front man. And then we had a meeting, and they wanted to merge. So it was good for them, it was good for us. But there was one problem. Me and Randy had a fight previously. We had a bad encounter in Columbia, South Carolina. And
was that over a match?
I came in on the winning end.
Okay. What was the story behind that?
Well, I was partners with Tiger Conway, Jr., and I didn't know the Poffos. I had never worked with them. That was the very first time. It was a tag match. I had heard of them, but I had never. And Randy and Lanny were just starting. And Randy had been in the business maybe a year, and he had 3-4 fights with the English guy there. What was his name?
Billy Robinson.
No, sucker punch people. He was good at that.
Les Thornton, maybe.
No, he might have had, but this guy was a shooter. Okay. He sucker punched him. Anyway, he had 2 or 3 fights, and Dundee, he sucker punched him in Memphis. So anyway, I had heard of that, you know, because the news travel. So anyway, we're booked in Columbia, and we go into the ring, and everything was fine with me. I mean, I didn't have a problem. But then during the match, there was a problem with the Tiger and them, both of them. And then I realized they were going to double team them, you know. And I don't know, if you don't have to be my friends if you're my partner. I'm there. So at the end of the match, everything kind of went away a little bit, but then it came back at the end of the match, and then the shit was on. And we wound up on the floor. And so I was going after Lanny. Lanny was backing away, throwing kicks and shit. And I came around the corner, and Tiger and Randy are down on the floor. Well, I took one of them things to hold the rope, you know, this got a metal base, you know, boom. Well, it was all over. The dressing room empty upstairs, and a few people got hurt at ringside. Well,
this was during the
it was at ringside in Columbia. Yeah, so a few people got hurt, not seriously, but just banged up, scratched, and all the boys was down, you know. So then I left after that, the territory. I got a lot of heat for it, but I didn't give a shit. because they were a real good friend with the booker, which was George Scott.
Right.
So that was another scene at the office later. But so anyway, I left, and I wound up in Tennessee. So this is like forward another 4 years when we went opposition. And that's when the meeting, so Randy's looking at me and I'm looking at him. I had never spoken to him again. And he said something about he called it a concrete block. Actually, well, it might have been made out of, but it was metal.
Yeah.
and so I didn't say nothing, you know. I just sat there at the meeting and listened. And so anyway, they offered, I forgot what the offer was. I think Roop got 10%, I think, and they were selling it. And the way we're going to pay for it is the dividends. We're going to keep the dividends, you know. So when it come to my turn, I said, "No, I ain't going no 10%." You know? So they said, "Well, there's a bunch of us, you know. There's Angelo, that's 20% or nothing, you know." So I wound up at 20% of them. And it lasted, I don't know, 2 years, 2.5 years. But then we started drawing. But Roop, Orton, and I, we'd have a meeting. We have never met anybody like Angelo Poffo and Randy Savage. Lanny was good. Lanny was a good kid. He didn't give a shit. He had this attitude, that this, you know, easygoing guy, you know. And he was okay. He just followed his brother, you know. And but we never met. Angelo Poffo, every single day that I was around him, I heard this: "Better rich and dead than poor and alive." And, better rich and dead than poor and alive. And anyway, the guy's dead. That was his life, you know. Yeah. It's but
you ended up having good matches with Randy, though.
Oh yeah. He's good. He was a hell of a worker, But he was paranoid. To me, he was. If you did something good to him, or you were up to something, you know. And so yeah, we had good matches, real good matches. We did good business, and then we started drawing pretty darn decent. And then he'd screw the guys and tell us, "I'm not going to give him a $200 payoff. I'm going to cut it in half." Well, that's how you keep your talent. And the money was there. You know, why get greedy? And then all of a sudden we had one guy leave, another guy leave, another guy leave. And then Orton left, Roop left, I left, and you know, there was no... and I'm going, why do that? You know, I mean, they work hard. All the guys, we had a good crew, and they were busting the butt, you know, to make it a go, you know. And then you do that. We went to the Rupp Arena. We had the big building in Lexington, and we drew some decent houses. I mean, for what we had, we didn't have that much expense. They did the TV. They had all the cameras. They did interviews at home. They turned their home into an office. You know, we had all the rings, all the equipment. We had vans, trucks, and you know, I mean, yeah.
And you mentioned that you spent some time in Memphis between the original Poffo fight and joining the promotion. What was your?
Well, that was way early. Yeah. Memphis was 72. Okay. That was like 9 years early.
What was your most memorable feud from your time in Memphis?
Memphis was, to me, it had to be a special town, man. The place was packed every week, every Monday, you know, and it was wrestling fans. You couldn't. I mean, they were there every week. You could. Well, I only spent a year there, in that area. But they kept telling us it's been like that for a long time. Memphis sell out. And it attracted a lot of guys who wanted to go work there. Yeah.
Was Jerry Lawler around at that time?
Yeah. When I was there, he was there too. Yeah. But I think when they didn't put everything on the card, I think when most of the time I worked there, he was in the other town. They ran 2 towns a night, Birmingham on Monday and Memphis. Birmingham, Alabama.
So this was before he was in the office. He would have just been a wrestler at that point, probably.
I didn't have any dealing with him. He was working. Yeah. Now, I don't know if he had any involvement. It was kind of a funny territory because Jarrett says, I'll deal with you. Don't worry, you're not going to have to deal with, what was his name?
Nick Goulas.
Nick Goulas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find Jerry Jarrett as a
He's a good guy.
promoter?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no problem. I went in there the first time and and I had told him, you know, I'm going to leave. If you screw with me, I'm gone. There's no if or but. Well, the first day I go to the office, Jerry Jarrett's mother worked in the office, Christine. She gave me a brown paper bag. She says, Nick says you got to wear this in Birmingham. I opened the bag. It's a suit, a medic with a white mask and a white outfit. I closed the bag up and I said, ma'am, tell Nick Goulas he can wear that shit. I'm out of here. And I did. I walked right out and there was a guy, can't remember his name. He worked for the office, stooge guy. He run, Dusek. He run to the car, running. So I went back in. He talked me into it. I told him, I said, I'll give it one more try. If they don't get it, I'm gone. So after that, I never had a problem.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't go to the office either. I stayed away from that shit.
And you're talking to us off camera about the North Bay / Pembroke, Ottawa Valley territory. What are your main memories of working that territory?
Oh, I'll tell you, it was a summer territory. Yeah, I think it opened up May the 1st and closed by the end of September. And the reason was because you couldn't get the arenas. It was hockey. And it was good because in the wintertime we'd go to Florida or go to North Carolina or go south and we recruited talent. We had guys like Don Serrano and Frankie Kane. Ever heard of Frankie Kane?
Not
He was the great Mephisto.
Oh, okay. I have
Yeah, he was that. One time he was the blue, the medics.
Okay.
They were no, not the medics. The blue
Infernos.
Infernos.
Yeah.
Good guy. As a matter of fact, I saw him last winter. He's still alive. He's like 85 years old. Good worker.
Didn't Terry Funk even work that territory at one point?
Not Terry. No, Terry was not born. Well, he was my age. No, it was Dory.
Dory, okay.
He was a big name up there. Dory Funk Senior. Yeah. It was senior, not junior.
Right.
And Maurice Vachon. I think maybe the Rougeaus went up. I'm not sure. They were using guys from Toronto too. They had a bunch of talent up there. And Louis Papineau, guys like that. And eventually, and even Rougeaus.
Oh, right.
Rougeaus was a big card there. Yeah. Don Evans. You ever heard of Don Evans?
Yeah.
He was the first one-man gang. And
you were the second, I guess.
well, that's where I copied, but it was long and, you know, nobody knew about Don Evans, you know. And so anyway, they all wind up leaving pretty much about the same times. Shires went to California, Funk went to Texas. So when we got on the scene in '65, Larry even gave us 25% of the territory each. Well, didn't give us 25. He gave us 25% of if there was any profit, you know. And it was just while we were there, you know. Nothing on paper. It was a word of mouth, you know, just a handshake. And that's why we went there 5 summers. Because we'd go to the States, we'd bring guys back to the territory. And, you know, we had the Mongols, we had Serrano, we brought guys like Chin Lee up there, we had guys like Frankie Kane. Yeah, we brought some.
And I'll just ask you about the Mongols because we just did the interview with Nikolai Volkov. So I'm just wondering what your opinion of Nikolai was to work with.
Oh, he was very green then. I mean, he was a monster. I mean, he's a big guy and strong. He was all right. He didn't hurt nobody. But, you know, like I say, he hadn't been working very long. So we kind of worked around him. And but he was an impressive guy. Yeah, very impressive. What they did is they beat the guy with the boot. They had these boots with the soles that was that thick. People had never seen that. So we took advantage of it. You know, they take the boot and run the guy's head into that boot, and that was it. School's out. And so Terry took on, Bobby Hart was from there because his dad had wrestled, they're local guys. So
Okay.
there was a big card. Terry took Bobby Hart as a partner. They wound up beating Bobby. Then he took on another partner, and finally people were chanting, "We want Ronnie." Well, I was a heel, and so I kind of turned me. And when I came in, oh yeah, and then I started walking around with a box, a shoe box. It's so simple, shoe box. What's in the box? Can't tell. Trying to get permission from the commission. So we even brought somebody from down near Toronto, posing as a commissioner, and we milked it. We were keeping it for the end of the season, because we were closing. You go out with a big bang, and then, so anyway, finally I got permission to use what was in the box. It was a pair of cowboy boots. I took the boot and I just beat the shit out of them. That was simple. We did some good business. For the times and the size of the town, made a little money.
Did you prefer being a heel to a baby face? Because it seems like you were a heel most of your career, but you're best remembered as a baby face.
It didn't matter. I didn't know. There's not much difference. I still wrestle like a heel. You punch me, I punch you, man. I ain't gonna shake no hands, and to me, wrestling was. I didn't have the gift of the gab. Some people could talk and draw money just talking. Of course, their matches sometimes were, and longevity sometimes don't last. And then you had guys that could talk and had good matches. So that was a plus. So I had to do more in the ring than but to me, wrestling was, if you want to get results, you got to make the match look like you're competing. I never liked guys who walk around and waltz around and stick their head out the rope and do all that. Come on, it's a fight. Look at the MMA.
Yeah, it's being successful right now.
You can do the same thing in professional wrestling. You're working. Just like I did with the Rougeaus. You ever seen those fights?
Oh, yes.
Well, you make it look like somebody's trying to beat somebody. Especially if you went on TV and did an interview and you're pissed at each other. Well, you're going to go to the ring and walk around? Hell no, try to tear your damn head off, And that's how you get results. Because today I watch matches and they don't pin the guy till the end. Well, you should try to pin the guy any time that he's on his back on the floor. You should try to pin the guy. Otherwise, why should anybody cheer or get excited? Right? Logically, that's.
And you brought up the Rougeaus. I'll just get into this part now. You had a very successful feud with them.
I almost got killed.
Yeah.
Lord of mercy, I came out with my life. No, just kidding. No, it was a very good summer. Very memorable 85 summer.
You told us off camera, but I'll just ask you again on camera how that feud came about, because it turned out you were just wanting to come up here for one shot a week or something to begin with, and it turned into
That's the irony of the thing. I just came up here to visit my family and spend a summer and maybe wrestle one time a week. I write it off taxes legally. I did work once a week, and it turned out to be an unbelievable summer.
And you had 2 big matches at the Forum, right? Or possibly more.
Yeah.
The first
we
one.
had the first one.
Yeah.
And that was unbelievable. We Pearl Harbored them and attacked them, and I think the people were shocked. It was like a bomb had went off. It did. That's the way I looked at it. The pictures like boom, and then, and people were so mad. God, Lord, you talk about, and especially when we hurt the father.
Right.
Holy mackerel, man! It was just unbelievable.
Did you have to deal with any physical fan confrontations around that time?
No, we were pretty lucky. Yeah.
And
then when we came back, my God, I think it was one of the records, or it's up there in the records, because it was on the paper the next day. My dad was impressed. I said, well, you're just here on vacation. It was, I think, largest crowd for something.
And how did you find working with them as wrestlers?
Oh, very good, very good. Well, good chemistry, because if you don't have somebody that, because they were hard workers and we were too. And I mean, people don't want to pay money to see two or four guys waltzing around like it's a picnic, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys made mistakes working like that. It's like I never shook hands with a guy that went, you know, with the two fingers. Yeah. What? Yeah. And walking around and they lock up and you don't see any muscles in their back. That's working because they're just, you know, come on, it's a contest, you know, and if you can't take a whack, well, you shouldn't even be in that ring. I mean, within reason, you know, the guy breaks your nose and your jaw, but a little bump on the head and, you know, whack in the chest and, you know, there was some guys that cry and moan and usually
like
those
that.
guys never made any money.
Yeah.
You know, for that reason, they didn't show no efforts. They didn't want to sweat. They didn't want to work hard and breathe hard
And it was Jimmy Garvin who was your tag team for that feud, and he's your stepson, is that right? Are you the one that kind of helped break him
No,
into
I
the
didn't.
business? How did he get involved?
Well, I married his mother. He was a kid in Tampa, Florida. Her husband died in, his dad died. He was the chief of police of Tampa. And when I met his mom and we got married, he had trained with Eddie Graham, son.
Okay.
You know, a little bit. They did a little amateur wrestling, not professional, amateur wrestling. Because he was only 12 years old, no, 14, 13 or 14 back then. And that was it. Just a few times, Eddie and Mike Graham, they went to the gym and then I think it was in, I don't know, early 70s. That would have been 72. 71 or 72. And that's when I went to Tennessee. And he was managing Terry.
Okay.
But we didn't have any contact for, you know, I didn't know where he was. You know, he was, I think they went to Texas, I think they went Oklahoma maybe, and Louisiana. But when I got the call, they were in Memphis, in Nashville. The office was in Nashville.
And you mentioned earlier that Precious was from North Bay. Did he meet her while working that territory?
When he was a little kid, he was 17 then, I think. I was working in North Bay. So I got married in '67, and I brought my wife. I met her in Florida in the wintertime. So that's how he got to come to North Bay.
Okay.
You know. But he wasn't working. He was, when he came to North Bay, he would have been 15, maybe 16. Yeah.
What did you think of her as a manager? Because she ended up being one of the first real successful.
It was good. Well, that was his wife, so there was, you know, it was a good deal for him, and she was doing a good job. I was around them just that time in Montreal, and then some in for Crockett for a little period.
Right.
And that was about it.
And what do you think of him being inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year?
Oh, is he? I never heard of it.
Yeah, they put him in the WWE Hall of Fame as part of the Freebirds.
Oh, well, good. No, I don't follow it. I didn't even know. I haven't seen him in 12, 15 years probably.
Okay. And you had a feud with Andre the Giant, who's a legendary character. Do you have any memories of that?
I beat him in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I never told anybody that. Because they didn't want to. But I don't blame him. Andre was he was a gentleman, man. He came to North Bay. And I tell people, and this is the truth, you can research it. I had a handicap match with Andre the Giant, him and another guy against me.
Okay.
I had the gimmick of the one-man gang. So I'd beat up 2 or 3 and 4 guys. You know, they'd send them in the ring, you know, not the boom, boom, cheers. And it was a good gimmick. That was in Knoxville territory. And Fuller brought Andre in. And Andre, what a guy. I mean, but the way we done it is I beat up this guy, what was his name? He's one of the cousins of the Fuller, Roy Lee Welsh.
Okay.
Ever heard of him?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Roy Lee and Duke, not Duke, but the big guy. He's a Canadian guy. He's dead. Joe LeDuc.
Okay.
Joe LeDuc. Were partners. Well, I was in a ring. I forgot who was the partner. But anyway, the turnbuckle came loose, broke off. I beat the heck out of Joe LeDuc. Joe LeDuc is laying there. And I took, what's his name, and I broke his arm on the post. And then we sent somebody from the audience, pile drive him. Anyway, there was bodies laying everywhere. So Fuller, they took me on, Les Thatcher was doing the interviews and calls me over and we had an interview and they're going to have a secret opponent for me next year. Of course, I'm like a maniac, man. I had a little bit of a gimmick like Steve Austin, just throw beer in people's face in the ring and, do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I said, I'll wrestle anybody. So they had a piece of paper there. Said, well, you're so tough. I forgot who it was, LeDuc or somebody. They tricked me into signing. So I signed the paper. What it was a handicap match. Of course, the other guy was in the cast. So he was a partner, but he wasn't going to wrestle. He was going to stand on the apron when the Giant was going to take care of business, on me.
Yeah.
So, but they booked it as a handicap match, Andre the Giant and Roy Lee Welsh against Ronnie Garvin, And we drew a hell of a house. The Coliseum was packed, man. And so we went out there, and I got videos of it. I don't know if you ever seen any of it. They just show some highlights in it where he was down. I hit him with chairs, and came off the top rope on him.
Wow.
With a knee drop, and Andre was on his knees from the beginning of I couldn't believe it.
I guess he liked you then to sell for you like that.
He was a good guy.
I guess you're both French, so he probably had the connection with you there.
Yeah, I liked him. He didn't have to do any of that. I was a King Kong in Knoxville after that. I'm telling you, I was just unbelievable.
Yeah, very rarely lost.
Yeah, I lost. But
I meant him.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And you also had a feud with Bob Orton Jr.
Oh, there's another guy, man. There's another guy. It's like a Malenko,
Good
we've
memories.
had, Jake the Snake. That's another guy. We made money, man. I was in Ohio. We worked 1 week in Georgia back in, 1981, 82. We'd go to Ohio, man. It was sell out. And Jake was.
Yeah, we actually interviewed him recently too.
He was. I'll tell you what. I wish I would have wrestled in 5 years. I would have retired early.
Your biggest feud with him was in Atlanta, though. Is that right?
Yeah, but it carried over to Ohio too. Okay. We started it but the tape went up there.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were on a superstation, so everything we did, we followed up in Ohio. That was a perfect deal. We had strap match. Oh
wow.
Man, we beat each other. I'm talking about coming out of there. I think I got pictures. Whelp, man. That belt that wrap around and go whap.
So a lot of, some people like Bret Hart have said that Jake wasn't that tough. So in your experience wrestling him, he was tough.
Well, I don't know if he was tough but he didn't complain.
Right. He went out there and fought you.
Yeah, I don't know about tough in a fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, he never complained, and we beat literally. We come out of there with bruises.
Are you happy to hear that he seems to have overcome his addictions for now?
I'm glad if he did. Man. He was his own worst enemy. What a good guy. He's a good. I wrestled his dad a lot. Jake Grizzly.
Yeah.
I have more people come in the ring wrestling that man than any. I have a lot of people come in the ring, but him, I think every time I wrestle him, I had somebody come in the ring to help him. And the guy's 6'7", close to 6'8", I think.
Yeah.
He was huge, and again, it was like we talk about chemistry, he would have a way. I could hit the ropes and come off and hit him as hard as I could, right here. And he was so tall that it fit perfect. I never touched him, but he would stop right against his chin.
Okay.
I didn't have to pull it. And that's how tall he was. And it looked like his head would come off. I couldn't do that with anybody else. I never pulled it. I would just extend it all the way. It fit right into his neck, looked like it took his head off, and he would stagger. And I'd hit the rope again, and I'd come off about a second, third, fourth time. When he'd go down, somebody was coming in the ring.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, he loved to work with me. He said, man, boy. And then I worked with Jake, but he was just, his dad was good too. It was different. His dad was more slow.
Yeah.
He was a big man, you know.
Was Ole Anderson the booker when you were in the Atlanta territory?
Oh, yeah.
What did you
Ole
think
and
of
I
him?
were partners in the early 70s in Florida, about 6 months. Well, on and off. It was not a regular tag team, but we were teaming a lot, traveling together. And I always liked Ole. I called him. I still call him today. Yeah. A lot of people didn't like him, but him and I always got along. You know what? He's brutally honest. He'll call you an asshole if he has to. If he thinks you are, he's going to call you that. Whatever it is, you know. And he got quite a few fights. He got beat up one time by, Black Jack Mulligan. He told him off. He didn't care. He didn't care how big Black Jack was.
Right.
But he was that kind of guy, and he was a good booker. He was a good booker.
And you also had some matches with Arn Anderson too, didn't you?
Oh, there was another guy that, yeah. There's another guy that, very good. Jeez, we made money too. I worked with him and Tully. Tully Blanchard was good, you know. He was a go-getter, you know. He was not lazy. He just, you know, which is good. There was some guys. They were good guys, you know. But some guys you prefer to work with because there was money there. What's his name? Valentine, Greg Valentine. I like to work with him.
Did you work with him in Atlanta before WWE, or just?
You know, I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think so. I can't remember. I worked with him somewhere before,
Okay.
but not much. Yeah.
And was Jim Barnett still involved in the Atlanta territory?
Yeah, he was there when I went there in 80, 81, 82.
What did you think
But
of
he
him?
was not around that much.
Okay.
He was more around like in the 70s when I was there in 74, 75, you know.
I heard he was a great promoter as far as securing TV deals and.
Yeah, well, he was
forth.
successful, so I never had a whole lot of dealings with him, but I liked him. He liked me. We had a good relation there. He one time he came in the dressing room and, my God, Ronald. He liked the match.
Yeah.
And I had Robert Fuller in the ring. And Robert was just green starting. And Robert was all legs and arms. He was tall, skinny, you know, he wanted to go 150 miles an hour. And so I got in the ring and Barnett was on the stage next to the curtains watching the match. And we had a sellout too. It was a packed house. And Barnett always come in the dressing room when you had a big house. And that's a sellout, boys, and I want you to butt your butt, you know. So anyway, Robert, man, he's going to impress somebody that night.
Yeah.
And we went out in the ring, and I told Robert, "That's headlock." He got me in a headlock. I picked him up. He took me over, and I'm in his arm, and I went, and he's going, he's panicking, and I kept him on the floor for about 3 minutes. And Barnett's watching the match, and this kid, he turns me loose and jumps up and runs around the ring.
That's funny.
I couldn't believe it. It's supposed to be a wrestling match. I'm in a hole. He turns me loose because we're not doing anything. Barnett's watching. And I did that for about 10 minutes.
That's funny.
At the end, we had people standing. Come into the dressing room, and Barnett says, "What a match, boys, Ronald, man." And he goes on, you know, and Robert, and the way, and Robert's looking at me like, yeah. It was good. We had the people standing. I mean, what else do you want?
Did you ever work the Mid-South territory?
The Mid-South?
for Bill Watts?
Yeah. I worked that in 85. I went over there. I had an airplane.
Okay.
And the only way I could make any money, I figured, is I worked double shots a night. So with an airplane, I could. I'd work the first match in one town, fly to the other, wrestle the main event. There's no bull. And of course, not every night. Maybe some weeks it was 3 nights. One week could be 4 nights, another week 2 nights. But, I worked probably, I'd say a good 9 times a week.
And that territory would have been really hot around that time.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was good. I remember working Jackson, first match, make good money, place would be packed. I'd be in Baton Rouge, main event. The cops would pick me up at the airport with the light on and the siren, my tights on. And I'd walk right into the building, barely on time a few times. They were about to send somebody else, because they were in the ring waiting.
Right.
And because somebody had called, hey, they're on their way, the cops picked them up. And it was stressful. I only did it for 5 months because it was hard.
Did you ever face the Junkyard Dog there?
No, I was a heel too. No, he was babyface. No, I never. Who did I work with? Mantell was a champion. I worked with Mantell, and it was. But I think you had 2 towns a night.
Yeah.
There was a lot of traveling. But with the plane, I didn't even have a car. I flew my plane and.
And did you get along with Bill Watts when you worked?
Well, I knew him from way back when I was in Oklahoma, when he was barely starting too.
Right.
He was out of college and all that. I just did a short stint there, 2 or 3 months, and that's where he was.
What did you think of him as a promoter and booker? He was one of the legendary.
I got along with him,
Yep.
and he even borrowed my plane one night to go get some guy.
That's good. And you mentioned Roy Shire earlier. Did you ever work for him?
No.
No, okay. Yeah. He was always known as a great finish.
I was in California one time. I was there and I worked probably 3 or 4 shots. I worked Winston-Salem. No, Winston-Salem. What was the name of the place? I went to Oregon too. I was out on the West Coast for 4 months maybe, and it wasn't Roy Shire's promoting. It was somebody else then.
Okay.
That was before 75. That would have been 63 maybe. And I worked for Don Owens.
Mike LaBelle had lost the Los Angeles territory up there.
That's
too.
who it was. That's who it was. I didn't like California.
No.
No.
Too busy for you?
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about it that wasn't me. I went to Oregon. I liked Oregon, but I didn't stay either.
And you eventually went back to Jim Crockett Promotions, where you made a big name for yourself. What do you remember about your feud with the Midnight Express?
That was good. Good. Midnight Express, that was Cornette managing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I did the Miss Atlanta Lively.
Yeah, was that you that came up with that
me,
idea?
Man. I was a transgender. I'd fit good today.
Yeah.
I'd have my own bathroom in the schools or restaurants. In the States, they have to furnish you a bathroom. All you have to say is, I'm a woman, or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but that's true. Today I would, But that was an idea we had because I was partners with...
Barry Windham was there? Or something?
No, Boogeyman.
Oh, okay,
Boogeyman and Big Mama was his manager. Big Mama was his wife. And with Cornette, the Midnight Express. And I don't know all the details. I had done that one time. I made some money with it. I did only one time, though. I dressed as a woman. It's a surprise. I would sit there. I had done it different. I sat at ringside, in the crowd.
Yeah.
This time, we went to the ring. We wrestled. I had the wig on and the pants and the boots, and I did it 5 different times. I think I even did it in Baltimore, and we went around with it, because it was.
Yeah, it's one of the things people still talk about from that era.
It drew money.
Yeah.
It drew money. But the best time I had with it is when I got the check. The other best time I had is the first time I got dressed as a woman, and I wasn't married, and I had a girlfriend. And we went out on the night out, in the clubs, and people were making comments, you know. And look at the shoulders on this broad. Some guys that pinched my ass, and they thought we were two lesbians because we started kissing, you know, on the dance floor. And the comments, well, I had a blast. Then we'd leave there, go to another bar. It was fun.
What did you think of Jim Barnett? Because he's such a personality now. He's very well known in the industry as a booker as well, not just a manager.
I haven't seen him since 1990, I believe. He was all right. He was just a manager at the time. And so I never got to be around him a lot. I mean, we worked and that was it, you know. But he was a good manager. We were drawing some money, so whatever was done right.
And you also feuded with Big Bubba Rogers a little bit, who became the big boss.
That was one of the best matches I ever had. You ever seen that in Atlanta?
I have not seen it yet.
Look at it. That was a good match. And he was green.
Yeah.
He was green. He was Bubba Rogers. And he hadn't been in the business but a month or two, whatever it was.
Right. They liked his look or something.
Yeah. He fit the part. And yeah, you ever look at that? It's out there because I got the video of it. It was a street fight match.
Right.
We're dressed in street clothes. Yeah.
Did you ever face him in WWE at all when he was Big Boss Man?
I don't think so. And he was a heel. No.
Okay.
No. But I think his gimmick was better. I don't know why.
Big Bubba.
Yeah. I mean, what I saw. Yeah, it was a good gimmick. I guess he did all right with the stick and the uniform and all that. But
and you were tag team partners with Barry Windham for a while too.
Oh,
how did you like him?
Good. Oh, I knew him when he was a kid. We'd anchor the boats in the cove, and his dad. He's a little bit younger than me, you know. And we'd all anchor the boats in a cove and spend the weekend there partying and barbecuing and skiing and when we were partners. He was a good guy. He was a good worker. He was a real good.
And you guys wrestled the Russians a few times, right? Ivan Koloff and Barry Darcy.
And we wrestled the Hawk and
the
Animal.
Road Warrior. What did you think of those matches? 'Cause those guys were known for being.
Shit, well, I wrestled them when they first came in. I'd get myself in holes. Oh, Hawk, man, he was a good guy. Yeah, I liked him. We got along real good.
So you were able to pull off passable matches with them when they were.
Oh shit, we beat him one time. Me and Jerry Oates in Columbus, Georgia, for the belts, and shit, we had a return, man, and sold out the place. I mean, they drew money, yeah. But they were hard to work. I mean, they didn't know much, and then they got better. You know, they really improved. But they were impressive guys. I mean, you had to watch. But then I never got, you know.
When did you find out
hurt.
that you were going to get that mini feud with Ric Flair and become NWA World Champion?
Well, I don't know. It just came out. They called me in the office one day, and I was about to leave, I think. And that was what's his name got hurt. Magnum TA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was going to be him?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think Rhodes didn't want to. I'm sure. Rhodes was an asshole.
Was he the booker around
Oh
that
yeah,
time?
he was. Shit, he's the one that killed the territory. Well, Crockett sold the territory, went out of business because of Dusty Rhodes. I'm serious, because of Dusty Rhodes. If he would have kept doing what he was doing, that his dad had established that territory, that would have never happened. The territory still be going today.
Was it Dusty that wanted to bring it to New York and bring it to all the Detroit?
Dusty had dreams of Grounder or whatever, and the jets. That's what broke him. Yeah, shit's expensive. You think Vince would have jets? No, it's not feasible. As money wise, it's It's a waste. It's cheaper and faster and safer and less liability to go commercial, than dealing with a bunch of airplanes. You got the liability, Imagine the plane goes down.
Yeah.
What do you think
Well, it's
happens to the
happened
company?
numerous times.
Because I approached Vince one time when I left there to have a fleet of airplanes. I had thought of that. And that's what he told me. He said, the liability is too high. And if you think about it, because I had told him, I says, King Air would have been great for short trips, a couple of jets for the long trips, and I could have been the chief pilot that overlooks the training and hired pilots. I would have liked to have done that and fly myself too. I could have double dip,
Yeah.
But he assigned you on an airline, man, his liability is gone.
Yeah.
So that would have been
So you think Dusty was overrated as a booker?
Oh,
for the
yeah.
most part?
Oh, shit. Yeah, way overrated. And anybody could have done that job the way he did it. 30 guys on the card. All kinds of gimmick matches. And I mean, you name it. So you didn't know who drew a house. You got 3 main events, and you got chain match, the belt match, the cowbell match, and then you got, it's just too much. How do you follow? You got to follow that. So he was throwing his kitchen sink in the ring and everything. I mean, just, it's too much.
Did you ever wrestle him in singles matches?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, when I left, he was such a jealous guy. God bless his soul. He's maybe it was the way he liked to do business, but, I remember the Rock and Roll Express. They were so over that Dusty even put himself in 6-man with them. He would book the Rock and Roll Express. Instead of the big town, he'd get a smaller town. And they would outdraw him. He couldn't, I know, I was there. And if you ever meet the Rock and Roll Express or talk to him, ask him.
I've actually heard Ricky Morton's say a version of that story before.
He couldn't stand it. I mean, I saw it. And I used to say to myself, man, why don't you put these guys in the big towns? This is where the money, they outdraw everybody. Why not? And they kept on drawing, and they kept on. They were so hot, man. They came in the dressing room one night, their clothes ripped off. I saw this in my own eyes. Their earring, out of their ears, they were bleeding. It was.
But he kept.
I mean, the girls were so
market.
over.
Yeah.
They were so over with the girls that it was unbelievable. They looked like rock stars, and they were good-looking kids, and they good workers, and but Dusty had to have, control, and he done it his way, and I think the one that really pushed it was probably Crockett and Flair. Well, Flair and we had some great matches. I mean, and I know he liked to work with me. I don't know if he liked me as a person, but
I haven't heard him say anything bad about you.
I think he, and I'll tell you what, he never complained. And I hit him so hard that his chest was bleeding. He's got scars from it, I guarantee. Yeah, it was split like 5, 6, 7 different places. And we were making money. And he whacked me too, but, and he never complained, never. Never said, oh, man. And even when he was hurt, we just kept pounding on him.
How much advance notice did they give you that you were going to win the title? Because it was pretty prestigious at that time.
Nobody knew, except me, myself, Crockett, Dusty. That's pretty much it. They didn't know even the night it happened. Yeah, I heard about that for a long time. The Rock and Roll Express and all the other guys used to travel. We traveled together a lot. Why didn't you tell us? Crockett just said, nobody leaves tonight. So they didn't know why. They didn't think if it was going to be a fight outside the ring, and they kept it a secret. Nobody knew. Nobody.
Were you pretty honored to have that title reign because it was so prestigious at that time still?
No, I was just honored to have my paycheck.
Yeah.
The business to me didn't mean trophies and shit. It was a job. I looked at it as a job. I don't know. Some guys looked at it maybe as something else, but I strictly looked at it as a job. There was promoters in the old days when I started, I remember. And I saw it quite a few times. There was a good worker, but they just put a belt on him and didn't pay him. And the guy would stay. Well, they paid him, but they should have paid him double what he was making. But the belt,
He was happy to be champion, so he stayed.
yeah. I mean, it's a belt. It's a trinket.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, well, it was okay, but I didn't want to do it. Nobody wanted that job. That's why Flair had it. That's another myth about Pete. He had it for all those years because he was the only one that was willing to be on the road all year long and partying and having a good time, which is fine. That's his life. But how many guys want to do that?
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't have done it. I didn't want to have, you know, they had a hard time at times in the business with having the world champion, especially when there was only, years and years ago, I remember the guy was traveling all over the country. It was a hard job.
Didn't Terry Funk ask to lose it because he was?
I heard that
having problems
too.
with the
I don't
travel?
know. I heard that because it's just, I know I wouldn't have liked it. I had it for 2 months, I think. You know.
And that was a planned thing because they wanted to exchange.
But you know
it
what
back.
Dusty did to me?
No.
Dusty booked me no title matches the whole 2 months. He didn't want me to defend the title. Right?
So
Oh, he
didn't
put
want
all
to
kinds of shit in the wheels, meant to block this, block that, block this, block that. I ain't stupid, which I didn't care, you know, and never had a title match. And I was over, and he didn't like it, because I was a babyface. I beat all the 4 horsemen, okay? I
There were
did.
non-title matches.
Non-title matches. And so I beat all 4 of them. Well, I beat the shit out of them for about 3 minutes in the ring. You're knocking the shit out of all of them, and then they finally eventually left. You know, I mean, that's pretty strong. You know, when they charge the ring and I'm hitting one, hitting the other, they're going through the ropes and they're coming back, and this went on for like 3 minutes. I got tapes of
I've seen
know,
those tapes.
that makes you look pretty damn tough, you know. And so he didn't like that. So what he did is when I came back, I dropped it to Flair. It didn't draw like it should. Do you know why? He took it out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah.
That was the town. 3 stories. That building would have been packed. It was always packed. They killed that town. After that, Greensboro never was the same. You know, and that's when everything went on the decline. No, he wanted to go to Chicago. He wanted to go to Detroit. All these towns, they lost money. They drew big houses, but the cost, they were losing. Instead
Travel
of making
costs.
money, well, anybody can book like that. You know, anybody can book like that. Yo, you made oh yeah, we drew a $300,000 house, whatever the amount, yeah, but we lost 60,000. You know, and then he took it to, they had the screen in Greensboro. It should have been the fight there, and the screen somewhere else in Atlanta, and everything. That would have, because it was the Mid-Atlantic. It belonged there. It didn't belong
Right.
anywhere else, Chicago, or, you know, you were taking, it's like taking your ball club out of, and taking it somewhere else.
Was it Dusty that came up with the Tower of Doom match?
That I don't know, probably.
That was a pretty dangerous looking.
Oh, Lord, it was, yeah. And then the bashes, you know, and it was very, I know because a friend of mine was Sandy Scott. He was running towns for me. And he told me quite a few times, he said, man, we bring a lot of money to the office, but we're in a hole, you know, because of the expense. Setting up towers, setting up this and that, and so how good is that? And then Dusty, I saw it coming. I was over like hell in Baltimore. Baltimore, Cleveland, those 2 towns, I was. And Dusty couldn't stand it. So Dusty concocted this deal he was going to turn me heel. And that was after I got beat by Flair. And he wanted me to go knock him out in Baltimore at the end of the match. Tap him on the shoulder, he turned around, and Gary Hart was going to pay me $5,000 or something. There was a bounty on Dusty. And he was going to pay me the $5,000 or $10,000, whatever it was. And so I did it. Well, half booed, half cheered, you know.
Because you were so over.
Yeah, but it was not a successful thing. You know, half of the crowd cheered, half booed, and he laid there. You know, oh, they carried him out. They come and helped him out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then his deal was he was going to put me partners with this other guy. What was his name? Kind of a Spanish guy. Gary Hart was going to be our manager. And so I got to analyze everything, and I said, I know what Dusty's going to do. He can't stand it. I beat the 4 horsemen. You know, he's not sleeping at night. I'm serious.
Yeah, because he was
so.
never
Oh, and now he's going to. He turned me. So now he's going to beat me, Alex Perez.
okay.
He's going to beat Alex and Gary Hart, all 3 of us. Superman. He's going to take his cape now and fly off. You know, I figured, well. So right before the TV happened, we were going to go down there, and I got on the airplane, and I walked all the way to the back of the airplane, shook hands with all the guys. I says, guys, y'all take care. I'm out of here, blah, 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 blah. And they thought I was joking. I had my suitcase. I walked in, walked out of the plane, got in my car, and went home. Even the pilots, they waited. They said, the pilots didn't believe it. I was done. That was it. Goodbye. So, and then I went to Puerto Rico. And
Yeah, what was it like working there? Because they're known, like in my experience there, they screwed around with my pay a lot. So I'm just
no,
wondering
I
how
had
your
a
pay
flat
was.
guaranteed, but I got lucky. What it was they give me $5,000 for 3 days, sometimes 2 days. That's after what's his name got killed.
Oh, they were desperate for American
they couldn't
talent.
get nobody. They kind of boycott. You know, a lot of guys didn't want to go, and I knew what's his name?
Bruiser Brody?
No, the guy that
Jose
promoted-
Gonzalez?
No,
Oh,
the
Carlos Colon.
Carlos.
Sorry.
I knew him from way back.
Yeah.
He even worked Montreal. I had met him
He
years ago.
started in Canada, right? He did.
I think so, but I had met him a bunch, and I had worked for him before.
Okay.
You know, and I knew him real well. He's a good guy. I never had a problem with him. And he called me. And I said, well, I don't, you know, it's dangerous. You know, he was going to give me the belt, which he did, and, you know, all that crap. And I said, I need some money. And I said, I can't go all week, you know, weekend, because I was flying. I got a flying job. And it was real slow, because they were just starting. So
Right.
everything worked out perfect. That would have been 91, I think. So, or beginning of 92. So I told the company I was flying for, and I said, it's slow, and I says, especially on the weekend, I says, I need to take Friday, Saturday, you know, come back Sunday or Monday morning. So I did that, you know, and it worked out perfectly. And they paid me, you know, they paid my hotel, they paid everything. He was real good, but that didn't last very long. 3 months, maybe 4 months, I can't remember, because they got audited. They got busted by the IRS. Not paying taxes or something. I don't know the details at the time, but he called me, and he what was the other guy that was paying?
Victor Jovica.
That's it. Yeah. He said, man, he said, we wish you could do it for less and this, and then I said, no, I quit. It was dangerous, man. One night I had a bottle hit the post as I was stepping my head up. Oh, if I would have been for that post, it would have been.
Was Brody's killer still the booker at that time? Because
Yeah.
I know he remained.
Yeah.
What was it like? Because it was so soon after the murder, like to be there, and obviously you probably have to shake his hand and.
Well, I didn't care because I don't know the story I heard 2 stories.
Yeah.
And it's not right to stab somebody or kill anybody, and I'm not taking sides. But I was around Brody. He flew in my airplane with me. I was around him a lot. You intimidate the wrong person, you know, shoving around, you know, and you're going to a different, you know, you're not home there. You know, the guy never went to jail, so that tells you something.
Yeah.
You know, and supposedly there was a lot of intimidation, and the guy was a little guy. You know what happened? I wouldn't do that to anybody and scare the shit out of a little guy because, and supposedly he had a towel wrapped around his hand, went into the shower, called him in, and, you know, just, which is not right, but that's what I heard. And then there was quite a few guys, Tony Atlas was there, they boycotted, and a lot of guys just went home.
But you got along with Brody and your dealings with him, obviously.
Oh,
if you're
yeah,
flying.
yeah. He flew with me, him and what was the other guy?
Stan Hansen.
No, he was a booker too and a wrestler.
But yeah, in other words,
But Brody,
There's no problem.
Brody was. But I saw him do stuff that he was a pushy guy.
yeah.
If it didn't go his way,
Yeah. Is it true that he would, if he showed up and he saw it was a good house, he would ask for more
I don't
money?
know. I never was around him that much. I was early. That's when I was working for Watts, back in '85.
Right.
That's where he was there.
And
Buck Robley.
Oh,
That was
Buck
the
Robley.
guy.
Okay,
Buck
yeah,
Robley.
they were buddies.
Yeah. The funny how the computer's real slow.
That's fine.
The little bit I saw. And the match I had with him, to me, was, I would put it in the class of some of the worst.
All right, so just, you had a short stint in the AWA. What were your memories of that? Because you feuded with Greg.
The AWA, I was going to go there a long, long time ago. I had a match with, what was Vern's son?
Greg.
Greg in Atlanta, Georgia. And we tore the house down. It was like on third match. I mean, just plumb tore that place apart. And he went crazy. Oh man, you gotta come up. I don't know, it's one of those nights. It's just everything clicked. He was not over there. I was a little bit because I've been there. But for some reason, it just, like with the Rougeaus or matches that just, you don't expect it. So he called me a bunch of times, but I never was ready to go to Minnesota. First of all, I didn't want the snow. I didn't want the cold weather, and I was doing well. My philosophy in life was, this is what I need to have at the end of the year, saved. I didn't look for millions. I didn't look for the other guy and being jealous of this guy. He made 600. He made 800. Shit, I had that in my head, and I stayed there if I made that, because it's sure. If I go somewhere else, I might not make what I'm making. So I'm going to reach my goal in the end of the year. This is where I'm going to be and all that. And anyway, that's the way I operated. And so anyway, it never worked out till, I think it was 76. Yeah, 76. I was in Charlotte, and George Scott was the booker. And there was this girl who used to pick me up at the airport, and a lot of the other guys. And it turned out it was his girlfriend. So George never liked me. That was the year with Macho Man.
Right.
So there was a buildup of all kinds of stuff. I had a plane and jealousy, I think. And Wahoo flew with me all the time, and certain guys. And so anyway, there was a big, I went to the office and give him a month's notice. And I said, nothing on TV, no jobs on TV. Oh, no problem. Well, I left and I went home and got my bookings a few days later. And television, Raleigh, North Carolina against Angelo Mosca. Oh, no, I'm ahead of myself. I got booked. I called Greg. Greg says, man, you start anytime. You start next week, in 3 days, whenever you can get here. I said, well, this is when I want to start, a month. I want it to be decent, I give, because I had a few other things I couldn't leave that fast, and unless it was an emergency. So anyway, I got plans to go to Minnesota. So they talked me into going on TV with Mosca. And I said, okay, Mosca's a big old guy, played football. I liked Angelo, he was a good guy, sure. I had told him no TV, but I agreed to one, fine. So I go home and I find out a few days later, Mosca is going a week before me to Minnesota. They send that tape up there. Oh, man, if I would have had one of them in front of me, I'd probably be in jail today, serving life. Oh, I went to the office. I waited till the next day. I went to that office, man, and I walked in, and Scott was standing, and there was a big picture window. I was going to take him through the damn window. If he made a move at me, him and I were going through that window, both of us. I said, I'm diving like a kamikaze. I went in that office, man, and I cussed both of them. And he was standing there, man, just shrieking, and I was saying, make one move because I'm going to tackle him and I'm going right through that picture window. But he never made a move, and Crockett started talking, and I said, little man, oh, I cussed him. He said, Ronnie, don't burn your bridges. I said, I'm not burning it, I'm blowing up the son of a bitch. And I went out the door and almost took the hinges off. I heard it rattle, man, I whacked it. And his sister's coming down the hall, and I saw her a year later. She says, your nostril looked like a gorilla. I was so mad. So I called Greg. I said, cancel me. Oh, no, they had played the tape already or something. I can't remember. He says, that ain't going to matter. It was just the principle. So anyway, that was
the reason why you didn't go the first time.
No. And then after that, I went, and it was the short-lived. Nothing really happened. I don't think
They were at the end of their days by that point.
Yeah, and I was at the end of my days too.
Did you deal much with Vern?
No.
No.
No, a little bit. I just talked a little bit, but no.
And when you went to WWE, was it Terry Garvin that helped get you in there because he was already in the office?
No. I think it was Pat that called me.
Okay.
I think it was Pat that called me. I heard that I had left Puerto Rico. I wasn't going to Puerto Rico anymore. Or I might have called, but I don't think, it seems like it was Pat that I'd called.
Because he knew you from your childhood. Yeah.
And I went, that's when I went. But I didn't fit there, you know. I tried my best to, one time I told Vince, I said, I can't sing, dance, and rock and roll.
Right.
I said, I can't do that stuff. I mean, I'm not, you know.
Why did they change your name from Hands of Stone
he does
to
that with everybody.
Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, look at Dusty. That's when I knew Dusty Rhodes was broke. When he put polka dots on him.
What did you think of that?
Oh, jeez. Dusty, I mean, Vince is a genius. He's so far ahead. Because Dusty used to go on TV. I was there. When Vince started WrestleMania and all of that stuff, and every chance Dusty had, not only him, there was quite a few guys would knock Vince. You know, wisecracks about, you know, WWF, you know. And I know it, you know, he did a lot. Dusty did more than anybody else. And eventually, he had to call, I guess, or go to work for him. Well, Vince is a hell of a business guy. If he can make money with you, he ain't going to, you know, turn you down. But he's going to get to you. He put polka dots on his ass and give him a black girl in the corner. And here's the American dream, wearing polka dots, the big old fat guy with polka dots. Think about that. That's genius. It's, to me, when I saw that, I went, wow, this is great. You know, I would have never thought of that. Yeah. Most promoters would have told you to go screw yourself, you know. And to me, and Dusty made money, but Vince got his point across, I think.
And you had a WrestleMania 5 match against Dino Bravo. Do you have any memories of working with Bravo at that time in your career?
Not really.
No.
Oh, I think we had a decent match. Yeah, but it was just to get on the card. That was all. Right. That was all. You know, like when I did with Greg, the refereeing. That put you on the pay-per-view.
All right. So your main feud in WWE was with Greg Valentine, and it started with you doing a retirement angle. Was that your idea, or was that?
It was my idea. Okay. They changed it a little bit. I give it to Pat. Pat said, "Well, let me talk to Vince." They changed. I was going to do it a little different, but it turned out okay. What it was is, I got to look, and if you were not involved in anything, you didn't make pay-per-view, you didn't make, you know, WrestleMania, you know, you didn't make where the money was, you know. So, and I was lost, man. There was so much thing going on with this and this and that and that. I mean, it's easy to get lost, you know, in the shuffle. I mean, shit. And so I came up with the idea where I leave, lose or leave. And I come back as a referee. Go get me a referee's license. Why not? I'm a wrestler. Go get me a referee's license. Then I messed with him. So he didn't get rid of me. I'm still, and then I really can screw him up. In matches, give him a fast count, disqualify his ass. I was going to do more than that. But he might have had some plans on getting somebody, like what's his name, the crazy, had a crazy gimmick. What's his name? I mentioned it earlier. Steve Austin.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Be just a crazy ass referee and
A bad good guy.
just yeah. And but they didn't want to go that far. But it worked out. You know, I mean, I got on the we had good matches. And, you know, I was involved. You know, and I like to work with him. So it was and I stretched it out till November '90, whatever it was, and I was done. You know.
I heard that his father was one of your favorites.
Oh, I'll tell you what. That guy was to me, he was a masterpiece, man. He would come in, and a lot of promoters wouldn't give him the time. It took him anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, because at first it was kind of boring, because he was very slow and methodical. But I'll tell you what, when he hit somebody, you hear him in the parking lot. Yeah, that's one thing about working with him. You came in the dressing room with a lot of forearms marks across your back and your chest. He'd lay you over the rope, man, and pop. Ringside people couldn't believe it. Yeah, they believed him. That was one guy, to me, he was probably the most believable guy in wrestling. Didn't do much. Didn't do kicking, didn't do anything. But he locked up like a bull. He was tall, not real tall, 6'2" or 3" maybe, you know. And he had a perfect physique, and his eyes, he had these crazy eyes, and he'd look at the people. At first, when he started doing that, it's kind of boring. But about 3-4 weeks later, man, the whole damn place would go nuts. He'd stare at him, and then he'd stare on the other side. And, oh my God. And then when he got over, that's why Wahoo followed him everywhere. They made a fortune, you know. And you talk about belief. If you didn't believe that, you didn't believe nothing. I mean, these guys, I was right there, man, and I worked with him a couple of times. I never was involved in any angles because he was involved with so many people. But, God, man, it was totally different. And then once he got to be such a great villain, be like Steve Austin, he turned him babyface. Then he had another run for, they went to Texas, they went to the Carolinas, they went to Florida, they you know, they went to where they was making money, and they could sit down in the dressing room and talk with the booker and run their stuff, you know.
And before you left WWE, it looked like there was being an angle set up with you and Rick Martel. Is there any reason why there was no TV matches for that angle, or you just?
I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hunt season.
Yeah.
You know, November. I didn't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
Hunt season, they had a hard time keeping me. You too, I think.
And you mentioned Wahoo McDaniel a few times. What are your thoughts on him as a wrestler and a person? Because he was a pretty legendary guy.
Who now?
Wahoo McDaniel.
Oh, that was one of a kind. One of a kind. I traveled, he loved to fly with me. Oh yeah. He would fly with me, and like we'd go to Richmond. Well, the next day we were in Norfolk, right down the road. Nah, I gotta go back to Charlotte, play some golf. He was a big golfer. So I'd fly, I got to sleep in my bed, you know, instead of saving money and staying over there, you know, fly back home. Next day we'd fly back, right back where we were almost. And we'd go hunt together. I hunted with him. And the only thing I didn't like being around him is he'd pay all the time. And money didn't matter to him, you know. And he told me many times, you know, he was broke, but he says, I would do it exactly the same. I wouldn't change a thing. You know, he'd pay all the time. You know, he would give his shirt off his back. He was one of those guys, you know, and it gets uncomfortable. You know, you want to pay your way. You know, if I'm going to go have dinner or drink some beer or something. But yeah, he was and man, I'll tell you what, he drew some money. Crockett, Texas, all over. Everywhere he went. I think it was in the 60s. If I remember right, it was 67 or 8 in Florida. He made $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would have been around
That was big bucks back then.
Yeah.
Because 66, I bought a brand new house. Brand new house now. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2-car garage in Florida. It's a $350,000 house today. It's 16.5. So imagine making 100,000. You could buy 6, 7 houses like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was probably like making $1 million today. I don't know. I don't know where or 800,000. Yeah.
What would your biggest pay years have been? The WWE years or the?
My biggest pay was 150,000. I still get the first check I got.
Oh wow, that was one check.
No, just kidding. First dollar, first check.
Oh.
I framed it. Nah, I had a good career. I didn't make millions, but I'm happy. Just put it that way. I don't have to worry.
And what do you think of today's product? I know you don't really watch it, but just in general, from what you've seen.
I think it's. Well, it's me. I don't understand that. I don't understand the world today. I really don't. Because to me, now this is just me, and I don't mean to insult anybody. To me, there is no common sense in anything anymore. You think what I did on this interview, if I would have done this in 1960 and pass it around, wrestling would have been dead. Really. They didn't take it, some took it as entertainment, but the majority were there because they wanted to see a contest. And you might have had just 50% believing in it. And then you had 25% skeptics. Then you had 25% that just went there because nowhere to go, and they just, it's a good show. That's what they would say. A good show. Today, none of that matters. And I see stuff that, like McMahon coming off the 30-foot drop.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. But they do stuff that's not that extreme, and they're running around. That's the part that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I mean, why do that if you're not going to take advantage of it? But the mentality is different. The psychology is, I guess, is not important. I think the music, the explosions and the lights and the booms and the bangs and the interviews and the tattoos and whatever, the whole, I guess that's what people are into. Well, it's successful, so I'm not knocking it. I don't understand it, and I couldn't do that stuff. If wrestling would have been like that when I broke in, I would have been a plumber or something. Some kind of.
But in general, the industry is not as successful as it used to be because there's.
I think wrestling is dead.
Yeah.
In this way. We used to have wrestling in every town. That's weekly. Like North Carolina, for example, you had 2 to 3 towns every night. Every night of the week. And you had to be very good at booking because you were in the same town weekly to keep a good average. You couldn't do that today. Well, that's gone. So count all those fans all over the country, all those towns. Now they go to the big shows, right? They run the big towns. Yeah, they have big shows, big crowds. I give you that. You got the pay-per-views draw, big audience, But what I'm talking about is local wrestling, the weekly, and all that stuff. That's all gone. And that's why today when sometimes I go do sign autographs, some of these shows, it's hard for the guys to learn. Because first of all, if you're wrestling with a guy that's got the same experience or 6 months or a year more than you, who's teaching who? It doesn't rub off. Wrestling, when you're wrestling with somebody that's good, it rubs off on you. And you wrestle with this other guy, and you start watching, a lot of things, you pick it up, and you don't have to copy. Today I think it's too much copying about clotheslines and a lot of repeats, and you don't see too many guys having a totally different style. Like in the old days, you had guys, like Yvonne Robert Rougeaus, Kowalski, guys like that, you know, they were all different. None of them look alike. It was, you got a lot of look alike today. I mean, just at a glance. You know, if you look at them for a while, then you'll see, you know, the guy's taller, bigger or something. But they go in the ring dressed up a lot the same, you know. But what the heck, that's the world today, and it's successful.
So what advice would you give a prospective wrestler getting into the business?
I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start. I tell the guys, I says, you know how fortunate I was? I went to Boston, like Bull Montana, Bull Curry, you had old timers, and you know, and then when I left, I went to Oklahoma and other places, and then they made you go, you wrestled 30, 40 minutes, 25, 30 minutes with guys that knew. I remember one time, Pancho Villa, you ever heard of him?
No.
Roberto Pico, Pancho Villa, big old 270-pound guy. Nicest guy you've ever met. He was like my dad. He liked me. We'd travel. He liked to drink his beer. And he'd call me kid, you know, and he'd always squeeze my wrist, you know. He'd wink at me. He says, "You're going to make it." He was a good guy, a tough guy. He was an ex-boxer, you know, and he always had that pause, you know, and mean-looking guy. He had bushy brow, high brows, but he could have been mean, you know. You could tell that one time when he was younger. I met him, he was probably 47, 48 years old. And I wrestled this guy. I was 200 pounds soaking wet in Louisiana. 201. I would go from 198 to 201. Every time I go below 200, I'd have a shit fit. I wanted to be 200. I don't know why. It's in the head, you know, just in the head.
Yeah.
I don't know, 200. So, and I had blonde hair, and I looked like a punk, you know, and I got a lot of heat. Back then, you had blonde hair. It was like a boy named Sue. I got attacked a few times, you know. Yeah, blonde hair in the 60s was a natural heat getter. So we're in Lafayette, Louisiana, in a roller skating rink. Not a big building, but it was pretty full. And I'm wrestling Pancho Villa. And I knew him, you know. And so we get in the ring, and he says, "Kid, you're going to be the biggest heel." And I figured, shit, he's 270 pounds. He's a heel. He was the big villain. Well, he turned me, and I didn't understand it. I came out of the ring, man, people attacked my butt. And he came and fought me all the way to the dressing room and opened the door and shoved me in, like he just punched me. But he saved me. And you talk about a lesson, but he put himself in holes. He did. He would grab my hand when we lock up, put it on top of his head, and he'd run in the turnbuckle. I was like a robot. Nobody ever knew.
That's
everything he wanted done. Yeah. And that's what I learned. Man, that's amazing what you can do. You know, because I didn't look the part against him. He was a 270-pound guy, and I was just a kid, you know. And then I traveled to Rhodes with him after that. I don't think I ever worked with him again. Just a one-night thing. Cold match, and he had people wanted to kill me. You know, and I tried to figure out how they do it. I went to Oklahoma, and there was Al Lovelock. You ever heard of him? He was one of the Bolos in North Carolina.
Okay.
And he was from out Oklahoma, Texas, somewhere. And Anton the Ripper Leone. They were two old guys. Well, to me, they were old. They probably were 48 years old, 47 years old, maybe even 50. They were the main event in Little Rock, Arkansas. That was my first time I went out there, first match. And I remember watching that match because I had went on earlier, and man, I did everything I knew about in wrestling, every bump and flying and bing, bang, boom, and you know, trying to impress somebody. I'm watching that match. They're not doing anything. To me, they weren't doing anything. To me, there were two old guys in the ring. And I remember near the end of the ring, Anton was sitting on Al Lovelock's chest. He was laying on his back, and he had his arm like this, and he was wrapping his string around the wrist. People were beating on the ring, screaming, and the first thing we know, people are on the apron of the ring trying to get into the ring.
Wow.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, God, they're sitting down. They're probably, blah, 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 blah. I'm totally only. He would, spit that and thought, blah, 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 and double talk and doing all this crazy stuff. And people are right. And the place was packed. And I'm going, wow. But I guess it's what they were doing, the picture they were painting or something. Wow, how much damage can you do with a string around somebody's wrist? He's looking back, Characters, man. I mean, there was a lot of characters in the wrestling. Yeah, that's gone today.
And just for the final question, is there any message that you want to tell your fans that might be watching this?
Well, I'm pretty old. Have I still got fans out there?
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm during my day now. I'm not talking about new fans.
Yeah.
I'm talking about because I've been to a lot of shows and, they say, oh, man, I mean, they barely can walk when they come to me. And I tell them, bless your heart, thank you for being a fan. If it would have been for wrestling fans, we wouldn't have made much of a living. And you got a lot of diehard fans, when they were out there in the rain and snowstorm, they'd still show up. Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
With former NWA World Champion, former WWE superstar, legend in the wrestling business, rugged Ronnie Garvin, but I like him better as the Hands of Stone. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. You're doing fine. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm a lucky man. I wake up alive every day.
Yeah, that's not like a lot of your contemporaries in the wrestling business.
Oh, I know. They're leaving left and right.
And you still actually look very similar to how you did in your prime. Maybe not quite as thick, but you still look like you're in shape.
Yeah,
you still have your hair.
I'm going to get the big head. It's going to go to my head.
No, I had some fans that wanted me to ask you how you actually got your nicknames.
Yeah. Well, the Hands of Stone, that's you can blame Gordon Soley for that. Gordon Soley is the one that gave me the name.
And that's because of your chops and blows, unlike what we see on TV today, actually connected and were very realistic.
Yeah, the first thing I knew, I wrestled on TV. That was in Georgia days. He came up with that, and then every show he would say, Hands of Stone.
Would Gordon have been your favorite commentator over the years to commentate your matches?
He was one of the best. Soley was one of the best. And he was good at coming out with some new holes that we've never heard of. He was very good.
Is it true that he really liked to drink too sometimes when he was commentating?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think he was better.
Yeah.
When he had a few, I think he was better.
I've actually wrestled some wrestlers that were better after they've had a few.
Yeah, I never did. I don't know. I had too much concentration.
So when they changed your name to Rugged Ronnie Garvin, was that because WWE wanted to create a new nickname for you?
I think so. They want to be different, and didn't matter to me one way or the other. Before that, I was a one-man gang, and then New York had a one-man gang.
Yeah, they gave it to the Akeem, who was a big guy. Why do you think New York didn't really use any of the NWA wrestlers to their full potential?
Yeah, they wanted their own brand. What's in the name? What the heck? If you live up to it, what the heck?
Yeah. Where did you learn to wrestle that stiff, rugged style? Because you definitely had your own style. We've heard Ric Flair say you would actually blister his chest from your chops.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I split his chest where it was bleeding. Yeah, it almost looked like he was cut. It was open, the skin. But I gave him credit. He never complained.
There's some fans watching this live as we're doing it, and there's a fan named Albert Retro that says he started getting a brush cut like you after he saw you in WWE, and he says thanks for the memories, and he likes how you wear your hair.
Well, thank you. Who was this guy?
A guy, it's a fan. There's some fans watching this as we're doing it. His name is Al.
Okay. Well, tell him thank you for the compliment. I guess it's a compliment.
Yeah, well, he said he got his hair cut like yours because he liked it. So,
well, I'm honored.
I had a haircut like yours too, but it was when I was in the military and they made me do it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, to me, short hair is more comfortable to start with.
Oh yes, especially when you're wrestling every night.
Oh yeah,
and yeah.
Yeah, cooler in the summer too.
Now I heard you have a one-on-one victory over Andre the Giant. Is that true?
Yep, it sure is. Sure is. I wrestled him. He had a partner. It was a handicap match. He had a partner against me.
Wow.
I think it's 1968, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah. Is that because he respected you so much, and maybe because you're both French, that he didn't mind?
Well, I think he liked me, and I liked him. It's too bad I never was real close to him because he was always on the road, but he was a tremendous guy.
Did you ever get the chance to go out partying with him?
No. Well, one time we went to New Orleans Mardi Gras. That's when he first that was in the 70s. And he was in good shape then. He had Frank Valois traveled with him, a wrestler from Montreal, big guy.
Yeah.
And which he could drink about just as much as Andre. And we partied, we drank, and of course he probably drank 100 beers to my 6-pack. And we were walking out at 3:00 in the morning. We were walking back to our vehicle to go home. I was driving, and this guy was walking by with his girlfriend or wife. I don't know what. And he stopped and he looked at Andre. Now this is 3:00 in the morning, and he says, "You look like a freak." Andre grabbed him by the shirt, picked him up, held him in the air, and slapped him. But it was just like a slow motion, just slow slap, because he had a big hand. His hands were that big. If he would have put any force behind it, he probably would have killed the guy. But he knocked him out just like a big old bear. And he dropped him on the sidewalk. He picked him up again and gave him another slap. And the wife or girlfriend, she's screaming. So we kept walking. We started walking towards the car, and I said, "Oh my God, the cops are going to be here. We're going to jail." No, we got in the car, and nobody came, drove off, and never heard anything about it. Well, what an idiot to call that guy a freak. He had to be drunk himself. But he was a gentle guy. Pardon me?
Did you have to defend yourself much like that when you were wrestling as a heel back in those days? You'd have
I got a lot of problems. I tell you stories you probably wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I had, especially with the blonde hair in the 60s. You might as well have a sign and or call yourself named Sue.
Oh, really?
You have to be careful in bars too. Yeah, I got attacked. I actually got attacked 3 or 4 different times. Of course, it didn't end well for them, but you got to do what you got to do.
Did you enjoy being a heel or a face better?
I had a better time being a heel. Yeah, I could do that easy. It came easier to me. I had a lot of natural instincts.
So
Well,
I get
if you want to be successful in wrestling, to me, you gotta look. You gotta at least look legit. If you look like you can't whip anybody, you know, uh, people are not going to get with it. And if you don't do anything convincing, when you get in the ring and you turn your back to your opponent or you waltz around, MMA fighters don't do that. They're
no.
on their toes, man. They're ready to go. Well, that's what you got to do in wrestling. And that was a big mistake I think some guys made. They didn't look like they were concerned. This is a guy that wants to beat you. If you go to a fight, you got to be on your guards, and everything you do is got to look good. If you miss by 6 inches, if you can't punch, you shouldn't throw punches. If you can't kick, you shouldn't kick anybody. Because if you just wrestle, the wrestling is hard to see through that. Plain wrestling holds and stuff like that. But when you start kicking and punching, you better be good at it. You got to be convincing. And if you
That's one
people,
thing that's missing today.
If you convince people you're in a fight, they're going to get with it. You got to convince them you're in a fight, and it's and you got to try to beat each other. Instead of walking around and turning your back and a lot of guys jump out of the ring sometimes, and well, it's good, but I think I used to look at it and I always thought it kind of killed the match a little. You got to stay in the fight, even if you're a heel or a baby face, and then the baby face gets better than you, but you got to still fight.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own opinion, and I always said, you got to work hard. If you come out of the ring and you're not sweating, and longer matches, you can tell a better story. You go in the ring in 10 minutes, what are you going to do? Yeah, but there's so many different styles and so many different ways of having success. Who knows? Today, I don't know what they're doing.
It's a lot of gymnastics type wrestling and wrestlers wrestling in shirts and basketball shorts. I know that you don't watch it.
No. Well, a lot of it is like a trampoline act. I've seen some unbelievable things, moves that they do, and they're right back up on their feet. And I'm going, wow, this guy's got a cape. He's going to start flying. He's going to fly around the ring. They don't sell anything. It's like nothing happened. Backflips off the top rope, landing on tables, on the floor. In the old days, they'd carry you out. You did something like that, they'd carry you out.
Have you seen Randy Orton wrestle? He does the Garvin stomp now, Cowboy Bob Orton's son. He kind of...
Yeah, somebody told me that. Yeah. Well, it's an honor. I take it as a compliment.
Have you seen Randy in the ring?
I've seen him a long time ago when he started at WWE. I don't watch anymore, but when he started at WWE, I just happened to land on that channel, and I heard Randy Orton, and I said, the only time I ever seen him, he was about 4, 5, 6 months old in the crib. He'd just been born. I think I was either in Knoxville or Lexington. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, he was a little baby. And then, but I knew his name was Randy. So I said, it's got to be him. Of course, he didn't look like a baby anymore.
No.
What a good looking guy and big physique and hell of a good worker, good wrestler. Well,
he's one of the better workers today.
It's in his genes, the family. I wrestled his grandfather. I wrestled his dad. His dad, man, it was a pleasure to work with somebody like that.
I saw a video that was very unusual of you and his dad called Plan B that Bob Roop was also in. Do you remember why you guys did that video? I don't know who released it, but a couple years ago it came out finally. I don't think it was released at the time, but could you tell us the story behind?
We split up from Fuller, and it was kind of an insurance. I don't know who thought of it. Maybe all of us, maybe one of us. I don't remember. But it was like an insurance, I guess. We figured, well, if we don't win this fight, well, we'll kill the business. But I don't think it would have done that, because Vince did the same thing. Vince went on TV and told him it wasn't real about New Jersey, so he could get rid of the commission. Everybody said he's going to kill wrestling. Well, you can't kill wrestling. And I guess that was the plan, and we never needed it because everybody went out of business. Eventually,
Right.
Knoxville was dead. We was gone. So,
do you have any idea who would have put that out? Like who would have had that video to put out a couple years ago? Because
we could have put it on the TV. We had a TV program.
Yeah.
See, we had television. The station wasn't very good because it didn't go anywhere. It just went around Knoxville. That was another mistake we made. We weren't prepared to promote. We were not. We didn't have the right television. Which it's a big problem when you don't have a good TV. That it didn't go anywhere. Just Knoxville itself, where Channel 10, the other station, was going all over, even in Kentucky and all over the place. We had the Tri-City area to wrestle, Bristol and all those cities, those towns. And we was ill equipped to promote.
Did you ever make up with Ron Fuller? I know that was obviously a bad time for you guys.
Yeah. Well, he's got a podcast. I did an hour on it or something, and he talked to me in Alabama at the reunion one time, a few minutes. And so, I guess let bygone be bygone, but
there's a fan watching this live. He's French. His name's Jonathan, and he was asking if you could say anything in French for the French fans watching.
My French is getting pretty bad. Say what to the French now?
They just want to know if you could say something in French because they've never heard you speak French.
Oh, well, bonjour les amateurs de lutte du Québec. Je veux vous dire un beau bonsoir, bonjour. Ici, c'est presque la nuit. Moi, je parle français. Ça me prend du temps à me rappeler. Je ne parle pas français bien souvent. Puis, j'ai été élevé au Québec.
When you are with Ray Rougeaus, when you guys hunt together, do you speak French together or English?
Well, the funny thing is, my wife tells me, she says, when you talk to Raymond, you talk in French for two minutes, and then the next 3 minutes you're in English, and then you're back in French. So we'll go back and forth. Well, what it is it takes me about a week or two to come back. The longer I go visit in Canada, and after about a week or two, I get better because I got to translate all this back in my head. And but I don't forget completely. It's just that I got to search, and so the first few days is a little bit harder. So whatever comes easy, I'll go English, and then we'll go French and back to English. It flows better that way.
I know you and Ray are very close now. You're very well remembered in this area for your feud with the Rougeaus. I think you sold out the Montreal Forum 3 times or something with that feud. Any thoughts on that classic match, you and Jimmy against Jacques and Raymond?
Oh, this is good memories. I mean, I still don't believe it happened. It was unbelievable. I mean, everywhere we went in the province, I mean, it was people were. It was incredible, actually. But they were. It was enjoyable to wrestle them, and everything clicked. We just had that chemistry, I guess, and. But hey, we busted our ass too. We worked hard. We didn't lay down, and you know, and again, I go back to what I said earlier. People were watching a fight. It looked like somebody was trying to beat somebody. It didn't look like douchebags rolling around in the ring, you know, with big bellies and whatever. It looked like a real fight, and that's what you got to do. If people believe they've seen a fight, they're going to stand up, they're going to yell, they're going to scream, they're going to throw shit at you, they're going to cuss you, whatever. And you know, it was a good chemistry. Raymond, man, I tell you, he's a great guy, and his brother Jacques, he was good, and we made it look real.
And I remember
they believed that when Senior, their dad slid under the rope to try to help him. I mean, I come off the top rope on him, and I think they carried him out, if I remember right. Yeah, people were mad.
And then you did it again around, yeah, around the year 2000. You did it again. Do you remember around the year 2000? You had another feud with Jacques and Raymond, and you guys still had 3,000 or 4,000 people a couple of times. I was at those shows.
Yeah,
that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then there was some kind of record in the Montreal Forum, the house. I mean, it was all over the place. Everywhere, every town we went, it was memorable.
Now, I don't know how long you've been married, but the fans always like me to ask what the best town for the wrestling groupies was in your experience. I don't know if you've been married 40 years or if you were single at one time in the business, but is there any town that you found had more groupies?
Well, I used to call them arena rats. People call them groupies. We nicknamed them in the old days. I go back in the 60s, in the 70s. We called them arena rats. The reason is because we wrestled in arenas. We didn't wrestle in coliseums and big facilities. They were usually, arenas. So, but the groupies, when I was single, there was some pretty good towns that there was a lot of groupies.
How was the Montreal territory for that?
I don't know. I never wrestled much in Montreal.
Okay.
A career was in the States, and when in '85, I don't know. I didn't go anywhere. I was staying with my parents at a campground because I came up to visit. That's how the whole thing started. I wanted to spend time with my mom and dad. They were getting old, and I left home when I was young, and I had called Dino Bravo, and I said, I'd like to wrestle one time a week because I'm going to be up here for a couple of 2-3 months. Instead of one time a week, I think I was wrestling 6 days a week. So,
did you ever hear what happened with Dino Bravo, by the way, now that you bring his name up? Did you ever hear the true story of what happened on why?
Well, I've got a pretty good idea. Yeah, I heard a lot of stuff, but I got my own. It was people around him he didn't know. He thought he did. Yeah, but that's the way those things work out. Usually, they do you in as people you least expect. Hard to prove too. But everybody has an opinion, But I heard some stories, and pretty sad, to end that way.
Because he could have had another run in WWE. He hadn't even been out of WWE for about a year. It seemed like if he wanted to, he could have gone to WCW or something, but he went the other way and got into that business. Yeah.
Well, he knew a lot of people that were, in that kind of business. Sometimes you got to be careful of the choice you make. I liked Dino. He was a good guy. Yeah, I liked him.
There's a fan on here asking if you have any memories of your matches against Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico, where I think you beat
Oh
him 2
yeah,
times.
yeah, I do. Yeah, Carlos. I knew Carlos from the late '60s, early '70s, and he's quite a worker. Yeah, I had a good time going there.
Do
I went
you
over there when they were boycotting because of what had happened to Frank Goodish. What was his name?
Bruiser Brody?
Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody. Well, so they had a hard time getting guys. I went over there after that. Well, they always treated me good over there. It was a
You
little
have
bit dangerous to run.
You have a fan from Poland that wants to know any favorite matches with Ivan Putski or any Polish wrestlers.
I never was around him. For some reason, I never was on the same card. I've never wrestled him. I don't think I ever met him.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. I think it's the same thing. I went to Tampa, Florida to sign autographs at a fan fest, and Bruno Sammartino was there. He came over to my table. I was honored, man. He said, we never met. All these years in the business, we never met. So he introduced himself. I knew who he was and talked to him for quite a while. Real nice guy. Ivan Putski's the same thing. I never run into him.
Did you ever wrestle the California territory?
I went to I wrestled, I think, a week. I was passing through in the 60s. And that was it. I just didn't like the West Coast for some reason. I just didn't like to live in the North either. Going up north and the winters, and my career has been mainly in the South. Once I went south, I was spoiled.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of when you turned on Dusty Rhodes? A fan is asking about turning on the fat Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, the fat man. Yeah. Yeah, then, well, yeah, that was, I can't remember the whole thing. I think it was, what's the manager's name?
Gary Hart.
Gary Hart. It was, yeah. And then he went, that's when I left. I left right after that.
Yeah.
I had plans to leave anyway.
I'm trying to call out his son Cody to wrestle me, but so far Dusty's son has been chicken. He might see this. What would you do if you were trying to call out Dusty's son and he was ignoring your challenges? Any advice?
No, I don't know. I met Cody a few times. Well, is there two of them or one?
There's also Dustin. There's Dustin as well.
I never met Cody. It's the other one, the older one.
Yeah,
Dustin.
Gold Dust. Yeah.
Dustin. That's the one I've met. Yeah. Yeah, he went to WWE after I was gone. I never
Okay.
I think I met him once or twice. Well, I never was around when he was working.
There's another fan asking which promotion you earned the most money in. Would that have been WWE?
The question is what again? Which promotion? What?
What did you get your biggest paydays in? Was that WWE or NWA?
I think NWA. Yeah, when I won the world title. Yeah. Yeah, that was the one. I had pretty good ones in that with pay-per-view when I went to WWE. There's some good pays, but yeah, the biggest was NWA.
Now, Dusty and Tully Blanchard's manager, Baby Doll, I'm friends with her, and she told me to ask you about the time you were flying with her and there was an electrical power issue flying back from Riley, and you had to land without landing lights, radio, or authorization from the tower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was, who was with me? That was Mulligan's son. What's his name?
Barry Windham.
Barry Windham and Kendall. Yeah, Barry Windham. Barry and Kendall were in the plane. And I lost the electrical on the way. And we were going some town in Virginia. We landed on a private field. We called a farmer, and he cut the grass because the grass was too tall. This is incredible stories. I called him, and I told him who I was. And when I told him, I told him I had Barry Windham and Kendall. Oh, my God. He says, I'll go cut the field right now. So by the time we got there, like 2-3 hours later, man, the field was cut, all grass. It was nice. We landed, but I had an electrical problem. So I told him, I says, tonight, when we leave to go home, I'm going to need a jump with jumper cables. And he says, oh, really? I said, yeah. He said, no problem. So we went to wrestle. And, when we landed there was like 30 people around the barn. He had told the whole neighborhood. And they gave us a ride to the airport because it was about maybe 8 miles away. And, of course, we let them in, give them some tickets. You know, they were real nice country people. We came back and got the plane jumped. The problem, I didn't have no lights. So, and this is out in the country. So I says, you're going to have to take a pickup truck, go chase the deers off the field. And they did. There was about half a dozen deers eating grass all over. I couldn't take off in the dark. I didn't have any lights. So I said, now what we're going to do, I said, you go to the end of the runway when I'm ready after we chase the deers, and I want you to turn your pickup truck away from me where I can see the 2 red lights of your tail. That way I can line up and go straight ahead. And I want you at the very end, so when I take off, I'll be over you. And that's what we did. That's how we took off. And Barry and Kendall couldn't believe it. They said, man, how you going to do that? I said, I'll show you. So we lined up and we took off. And I couldn't retract the gear either because the gear is electric. So we flew home with the gear down, no lights, no radio. So we got to coming into Charlotte. I couldn't have done that if the weather would have been bad. It was very clear skies, stars were out. And of course, I can't land legally into Charlotte because it's called a TCA, and you need communication and you need to be going to be on radar, and you got to talk to someone because of all the traffic that they have. But it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I said to myself, not too many airplanes landing at 1 o'clock in the morning. So Barry says, what are you going to do? I said, what? We're going to land in Charlotte. Oh, really? I said, yeah, we're going to land in Charlotte. That's where our car is. So I was coming from the east. So the airport is to the west of Charlotte. And I figured if I stay low, they won't pick me up on radar because the building in North Carolina, in Charlotte, the tall building, are blocking the signal. And I said, I'm going to fly low over the town and then start down. The airport's 5 miles west of the airport. So anyway, I had my plane in my head. So we're so low as we're flying over downtown Charlotte. And Barry says to Kendall, Kendall, look at downtown Charlotte. You'll never see it like this again. We were like 100 feet over the tall buildings. Anyway, and we landed in Charlotte, and I said, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. We got out of the plane, and we went inside. And nobody came. They never knew I landed. Everything turned out to be okay.
That's
I pulled it off.
There's a fan on here asking if you have any memories of wrestling in Philadelphia. I know that's a bit of a garbage dump town, but do you have any fond memories of wrestling there?
In Philadelphia?
Yeah.
No, not really. I remember Baltimore, Cleveland, some places I can't even place the building, But yeah, they were all good towns, really. I mean,
As long as you got paid, you didn't care.
Oh, that's it. That was the bottom line with me. It was a job, that was work.
The first interview that I did with you, Steve Austin, I don't know if you know Steve Austin, but he's a big star in wrestling. He contacted me and told me he watched the interview and he really liked it. Have you seen him wrestle at all or had any contact with him over the years? Because he's a big fan of yours.
Steve Austin, the wrestler?
Yeah, he's a big fan of yours.
Really?
Big NWA
Well,
fan.
well, tell him a big hello for me. I met him one time. And I can't remember. I was with Raymond Rougeaus, and he introduced me to Steve. And Steve was having a chain match, and he asked me a few things. He said, "What can I do with a chain match?" I remember that. I was impressed. Him asking me. I said, "Well, that was an honor." No, he had a good style too. I like his work. That was really something.
I guess that would have been when he was in WCW or something. When you met him, probably.
No, he was at WWE.
Oh, okay.
That was at WWE. I didn't know him before that. I had never heard of him, but that was at WWE because I was up there for something, and I wasn't working there. That was after I had left. I was up there with Raymond Rougeaus for something, and it was in a town. They were doing TV. That's what it was. And Raymond was doing the translation. You know, the voiceover or whatever. Or
I think he still does that.
Yeah, that's how I got to be there, and that's how I met Steve. Yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with Pat Patterson at all?
No. I heard he's not doing too well. You know, I know he lives in Montreal. I think. That's what
I heard he has some dementia issues or something. That his brain is kind of not all there.
I've known him since we went. I went to the same school, but he was already gone because he's a little older than me, 2-3 years older, I think. And we were raised like, I don't know, 4 or 5 blocks apart, same neighborhood. Yeah, I didn't know he was that bad. Somebody said he had health issues.
That's what I've heard. I haven't. I don't know him personally, but I heard that a few friends of mine have talked to him recently, and they said it doesn't seem like everything's all there in the head. His memory doesn't seem to be very good, and I guess he had an incident at Rocky Johnson's funeral where he kind of talked some crazy talk. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad, man. You know, Rocky Johnson, I was supposed to go see him 2 days later. Somebody said he died. I said, "You're kidding. I'm fixing to go see him, you know, in Florida because I'll go down there in the wintertime." And I was going to go see his horses and his farm, you know, and that's sad. Just never know. We're losing a lot of guys.
I had a few fans that wanted me to ask you what your relationship was with Terry Garvin. Was there any real relation between you two?
No, we were just, you know, tag team partners, you know. It was business. You know, he had his life, I had mine. And, you know, just like when I team up with Jimmy, you know, it was just a business deal. Well, you know, we did real good. We did real good, you know. He had a good gimmick, you know. He had that, whatever. He had the hair and all that and the robes and, you know, he would get some heat. You know, you got to understand, if you had blonde hair back then, you got automatic heat. People booed it, you know. Well, they thought you were gay. You know, if you had blonde hair, you were queer. That's what they called you back then. You're a damn queer. You know, the world has changed. Today you got purple hair, green hair. I mean, you name it. Nobody cares. But if you had blonde hair, that was one of the reasons they had blonde hair. You got automatic heat. They hated you. They didn't even know you. They hated you.
With all those accusations that came out about Garvin in later years, Terry Garvin, do you think that was all blown out of proportion, or do you think there was anything to that?
I don't know. He was gay, and I mean, he was wide open with it. I mean, it was not a secret. He let everybody know. He wasn't bashful. You know, he had his own life. He had his own life, and you know, I had my wife, I had my kids, and you know, I had a different life. So
Tony Atlas didn't.
I never did care what people did in their personal life anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a lot of strange stuff in wrestlers' personal lives too that you really don't want to know about.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Tony Atlas was telling me a story about you. Tony Atlas said you used to like to rib people on the road. You would actually drive right up to their bumper, going like 100 miles an hour on the highways and actually push them. Is that true?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's true. And plus, I mean, I did stuff that should be dead. I mean, oh yeah, Tim Woods one time, the Skyway Bridge in Florida. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I come up on the Skyway Bridge and I realized that the car in front of me is Tim Woods. So I turned my lights off and I eased up on his bumper. He never knew it. I start pushing him. I got him to 90 miles an hour across that bridge. I could only see the head and the rear view. Just he talked about that till the day he died. Yeah, I had some good laughs. Yeah, he looked at his speedometer. He's doing 90 miles an hour. So he just steered the car.
Did you ever travel with Bobby Heenan at all on the road?
No. He was a good guy. The manager, Bobby Heenan?
Yeah.
I think I did a couple of trips. Oh, I laughed the whole time. He was a good guy. I liked him. Yeah. Then I saw him in a fan fest somewhere when he had his operation. He had cancer of the throat. Yeah, I almost didn't recognize him. You know, he even gave me his book.
That's a great book. Funny book.
Yeah. Well, he was a funny guy. Made you laugh all the time.
Where did you get the idea of sitting on an opponent's chest after your victory? A fan is asking.
Well, I started getting tired. They were hard to beat, so I figured I'd rest it after I beat them. No, I don't know. It just popped up in my head. Yeah. Take a break, you know, kiss you, blow on your hand. Yeah, different. You know, I don't like routine. I like to do. I used to think different things when I travel in the car, you know. You got to be creative too sometimes, you know.
Would you say Mad Dog Vachon was the toughest Quebec wrestler to ever wrestle, or who would you give that distinction to?
He did wrestle. He eats you alive. No, yeah, probably one of the toughest. Yeah, he was. Don't piss him off. All I could say.
Did you ever see him in action?
He had the ability to wrestle too. You know, he all around. He's a pretty tough guy.
He was an Olympian, I believe.
Yeah,
at one point.
He went to the Olympics.
I never heard of him losing a bar fight. I don't know if you ever saw him in a bar fight, but supposedly.
Oh, yeah. I saw him in one in Chicoutimi. Yeah. He hit somebody at the matches. Well, they attacked him and he whacked somebody. And it turned out that the guy that got whacked, his brother was a tough guy in the town, was a bully. So the Vachons and a bunch of wrestlers were at this bar in Chicoutimi, Quebec. And this guy, he don't know what Maurice Vachon looks like. Well, Maurice was with Paul. Paul is big, you know. They're both sitting at the bar. This guy walks in the bar. He wants to kick Maurice Vachon, but he don't know Maurice. So he asked. I don't know if they told him. So they told him they were sitting at the bar. So he walks over. He looks at Paul. He looks at Maurice. Looks at Paul again. He decides, it's got to be Maurice. He's going to jump on. He should have jumped on Paul. But he starts to fight with Maurice. Oh my God, Maurice Paul driving him in the ground. I mean, on the hard floor. And in the meantime, he hit his head, split his head on the column. But that didn't stop him. He beat the. Oh, jeez, that poor guy, man. I tell you what, they carried him out of there. But he should have picked on Paul. He would have had a better chance.
You mentioned you mentioned Chicoutimi. Do you find it sad at all that there's no wrestling in Chicoutimi now, and like there's so many towns like Chicoutimi and other Quebec towns that don't even get wrestling? Right? Yeah,
really.
And it used to be a big town for wrestling, but now it's like it seems.
Chicoutimi and Quebec were great towns. Yeah, they had some good crowds in Chicoutimi. Why? There nobody promoting or nothing?
No. No.
Wow.
Seems like wrestling, other than in Montreal, is dead pretty much. There's some in Quebec City, but nothing really great.
Nobody wants to start a promotion, or no interest, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, it used to be great. Yeah.
Were you friends with Rick Martel at all? Speaking of Quebec City.
I know Rick, but no, we never hung around together. Well, I left Montreal a long time ago. Long time, 1962 actually.
Wow.
I went to 60, something like that. 62 or 3, 62.
How did you like working with Jim Cornette in the NWA? There's a bunch of fans that wanted me to ask you about him.
Yeah, he was good. He did a good job. He had a lot of heat. His mouth, he can get some heat with his mouth.
Yeah, he still can.
He can piss a lot of people off. Yeah, he's a talented guy. We worked with him when he was managing. What's their name? Bobby Eaton and Dennis Conner. Yeah, we had good matches.
Speaking of heat, do you have any tips as a heel to give to any heels that might be watching this out there? Do you have any tips for a heel wrestler?
Well, the tips, just bust your ass, man, and there's nothing like if a guy fights back, the heel, and he lets the babyface take over eventually, but fight back. That's how people get off their seat and stand up and everything when they're watching a fight. If you're not watching a fight, it's boring. And there's some guys that never try to pin a guy during a whole match. A whole entire 30-minute match, never try to pin the guy until the end, on the finish.
Yeah.
Well, the object of wrestling is a pin or submission. That's the object. And you want to get a reaction from the people, you got to make him believe, well, I'm trying to beat this son of a bitch, or I'm trying to break his leg and make him give up, or something like that. It's, I don't know. You got to make it look as logical as possible.
I see.
And if people really believe that, I've had people say, "Was you guys shooting?" Yeah, they were convinced we were shooting. We're pissing each other. Well, look, even Cornette, I used to scare him. That's what he says. He says, I look like a crazy maniac. He said, you look at his eyes, he look crazy. I heard him say that. Well, when you're mad, you should look mad. I don't know. Everybody's got their own way of success, I guess. I was not a 6'6" guy. And Maurice Vachon was not a big guy either, but he was convincing. He was very convincing.
Do you have any favorite match that you've had over the years? Any particular match that stands out to you as one of your personal favorites?
I've had great matches with Bob Orton, Jr., Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect, Greg Valentine. There's so many of them. There's a lot of them. A lot of good, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. But it was fun. Tully Blanchard, Flair was good. you know.
Did you ever hang out with Flair outside the ring? I know you were on opposite sides a lot of the times.
No, I've never really, no, never done anything with him. Within the small talk, maybe in the dressing room, passing, you know. But we was always opposite dressing room. We never traveled together. I didn't live the lifestyle that he did either. So
No.
I probably would have
You
met him.
probably have a lot more money than him too, because I think he wasted all of his money over the years on 5 wives and frivolous spending.
Well, the money he made, he should be he should be pretty well off.
Yeah.
I wish I would have made the money he made. Yeah. But I'm doing fine too. Sometimes it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Have you seen Flair's daughter wrestle, Charlotte Flair? She's pretty good.
Is she?
Yeah.
No, I've never seen her. I don't watch it anymore, but I heard she was wrestling. I don't think I ever met her. But, well, it's probably in her genes. Probably in her genes. Probably do well.
Tully's daughter wrestles too. I don't know if you've seen Tully Blanchard's daughter, but there's a company that actually made her the men's champion of the company, and then she defeated all the men in this company, Impact Wrestling, then quit. So she's the undefeated men's champion.
Well, I guess the guy she worked with were too stiff.
No.
I think I would have been pretty damn stiff.
Yeah.
You're gonna beat me, you're gonna earn it.
Exactly. What do you think about wrestlers now? Pretty much overall, they're just admitting it's a show. Even in the build up to matches, they don't talk like they hate each other anymore. They build it up by saying, "Oh, we're going to tell a great story. The fans are going to love this match. We're going to work well together."
Well, what I've seen. The reason I quit watching is it's not believable. I don't want my intelligence insulted. If you do something believable, it's like a movie. If I watch a movie and I can't get into the movie because the acting is so lousy or the plot or whatever, I go on. I used to love to watch Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk wrestle. That was the most amazing thing I've seen. In the days of Buddy Rogers with Pat O'Connor, never threw a punch, wrestled and did all kinds, and people standing for 30, 40 minutes, and no punches, no kicks, no nothing like that. They were watching a wrestling contest. Two guys trying to beat each other, and I respect that. If you can do that, but they can't, and it's not their fault because they never had anybody teach them that. They get trained and then they send them in the ring to do high spots, to do spots. They call them spots. We went in the ring and we played by ear.
Yeah.
I wrestled Ric Flair for an hour and we played by ear. Well, just whatever came.